Plenty coming up this week. We're talking the NBL Championship Series with Derek Rucker and a bit of NBA too.
And the Olympic draw is out. We break down what it means for both the Opals and the Boomers.
This is the Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Well, time for our starting five hammer. No surprises whatsoever. Xavier Cook's returning to the Kings.
The highest paid deal in NBL history is what it's been reported.
Reportedly, yeah.
So what is it?
It'd be nice if we knew, right?
Come on, we've been banging on this. I mean, let's go back. Great to have Xavier Cooks back in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a superstar. He helped the Sydney Kings win those couple of championships. Had his crack in the NBA, didn't quite work out, playing some good basketball in Japan, I think it is. And, it would have taken a lot of money to be able to bring him back because the money overseas obviously is a lot bigger.
The sway of Brian Gordon and the Olympics coming up wouldn't have hurt.
No doubt. And the chance to play for the master coach. I mean, he's had that with the Boomers before, so he's seen what he's about. Gorge, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, he would have demanded a massive budget for this team. He wouldn't have gone there without a big budget that he could go and get players like Cook signed. So this is the first of many probably pretty big signings, I would have thought.
Would love to know exactly how much he's on.
How come we don't? In every other sport, they're telling you what it is. I mean, we are so far behind some of the other sports keeping this a secret. Like, you can't promote it. Even the NBL put out the biggest deal, and then they don't say what it is.
Well, either player spend, but overall team spend, one or the other,
we want both. I mean, it's 2024. Come on.
Yeah.
We definitely want the total team spend. The fans deserve that as a bare minimum. And talking about players' rights and things that you shouldn't know what they're getting. I mean, please. What do the other codes know? Yeah.
No, very true, very true. Just on that though, on the Kings as a whole, has a team ever, from a fan sentiment point of view, has a team ever gone from rock bottom to genuine excitement so quickly before? Yeah,
I mean, I think Gorgian's been able to do this multiple times. And he's the master of going into situations where they've underachieved, gets a big budget, and he's such a good coach that he can attract the right players, turn things around in a really quick time. So there's no doubt they're going to be title favourites, I would have thought, next year. Yeah,
all of a sudden things looking good for the Kings. Congratulations to the Southside Flyers, WNBL champions. Do not know how that happened after that result in Game 1, first of all.
Yeah.
What a series. That was a roller coaster.
Well, I was reminded on social media that I got that one wrong. I reckon I was 30 seconds away because in Game 2, for those
you
that
were
saw it,
you were 10 seconds away.
Annalie Maley, they tied it up. I think there was like 25, 30 seconds to go. They were tied up. She missed both free throws. Then they got a steal. She missed a wide open layup. And then, and I pumped Annalie Maley up. She's had a great season. I think she's really matured, but that was a tough 25, 30 seconds to watch. And then they hit that one on the buzzer after going for a basket with 11 seconds to go. And we know that's the most basic thing. You got to pull it out. So.
Yeah, convincing by the Flyers in the end in Game 3. Congratulations to them. Full of talent. Lauren Jackson, another championship under her belt.
Yeah, and she was instrumental early in that series. But they had 7 players in double figures. They played such good basketball. Dickey came off the bench. She was probably their best player. Cole as well. Like, she has just been around for a long time, but keeps getting it done. So another championship to her. Well done. So really good effort to be able to get off the mat like that, come back and win in such convincing style. They did.
Yeah, full of experience. Mercedes Russell, the championship MVP as well. So congrats to her. Okay, we have to talk about Chris Goulding. 5 threes in Game 1 of the final series.
He's a star.
He is. The 5 threes, though, put him 19 away from the season record, which is your record.
That's right.
I believe, which is, what is the season record?
144.
144.
But there's a lot of talk on social media, and you've got to remember that my era was 48 minute per game. But they don't say how many games each player has played to get to that sort of as well. So there's a few factors that you need to be able to take into consideration. But he's had an outstanding season. Some of the shots that he makes, like 1, they're deep. 2, he can shoot them off balance. He needs no time. And he's still doing this at this age is probably the most remarkable thing. I mean, he's mid-30s. And the way he's defended every game is really tough. So
No, it's fantastic. But speaking of games played, so you actually have both played 440 games.
Yes, that's in the total. Geez,
Yes.
we've seen some old school stuff here. That's in the total games. Now, he's a long way off from being able to catch the total amount of threes. But
The great Andrew Gaze holds that one.
yes, Drewy has that. But it's more about whether he can get it in the season. Now, to get 19 in the next, depending on how many games to go, it'll be tough for him to be able to get it.
You reckon he can?
Well, he's certainly capable.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know how many games he's going to get. You think Scott Roth's going to make some adjustments and really make it difficult for him, but he's got the ability to be able to make shots, even under big pressure.
All right, time to do a deep dive into the NBL Championship Series with the Mayor of Brisbane, former NBL MVP, Derek Rucker. D, how you doing this week?
I'm good, Joe. Hammer, what's happening?
All good, mate. Ready to break this series down. How good was game one?
It was very good, and I think it went pretty much how I expected with a strong Melbourne dominance. Joe, what do you got for us?
Well, I was going to ask you about Melbourne. They locked it down defensively. You were there. You were in the building. What did you make of the game as a whole?
You know, I really liked how both teams came out in that first quarter, Shane. I thought the execution was really good. But sometimes when you're being successful, you actually forget about how you were playing well. And I thought that happened to Tasmania. And I think it came down to Jordan Crawford. He really wants to make an impact in this series, and I respect that. And you can see him really pressing hard. But he pushed too hard against the wrong team. You've got to stay within the confines of how you've been successful throughout the course of the season. And he made some bad decisions. Some shots didn't go his way in the second quarter. And I thought that led to a rush Jack Jumpers offensively. And then you got that result right there. JLA was out in the break dunking, and United started feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with you with Crawford. I think Crawford's just in a bad place. I mean, he went 3 for 13. The very first shot of the game, he came off on an on ball. It was a free throw jump shot that he just shot short. I feel like they have to make some changes just because he's not in a great way. They got nothing from their bench. So I think McDonald has to start, even though he hasn't been playing great against Melbourne. I think he needs to start, and I think then they need to challenge Crawford to give something off the bench because they just haven't had anything. I think they really got impacted hard when Magnay got his second foul, which was a tech foul in the first few minutes of the game. I mean, you and Drewy spoke about it on the call, and I agreed with everything you said. It was ridiculous. One, it was the wrong call, and then they backed it up by then giving him a tech foul, which really changed the way the game was played. Magnay he only played 13 minutes, and he had like 10 points, 5 rebounds in 13 minutes, and that was a serious impact on their results. So, I mean, they were workmanlike. Melbourne United, you know, Chris Goulding, 6 from 10 threes, 22 points. I think Daly is by far the best in the league about reading the pick and roll coverages. He threw a couple of passes to Huckporty that I would have been spewing with, that he missed those alley-oops because they were just gimmies. He still had 6 assists, played great defense, and Clark coming off the bench. They just had too many, but I think game 2 will be different.
Okay, so talking game 2, Derek, you didn't seem to agree with the changes that Hammer just mentioned for Tassie. What would you be doing if you're Scott Roth?
You know, it's interesting that you see that, Shane, and you're right. I agree with McDonald needing to play better, and I actually envision him as being the starting point guard for the Jack Jumpers, whether it's next season or the season after. He's a very valuable piece, but I'm not sure he's ready for the starting role right now, but they need something. I don't know what's going on with Crawford, but if they do make that type of change and McDonald comes in there and gives them a real push, well, then that probably expedites Scott Roth's plan to get McDonald into that starting position in years to come. But in game 2, look, Melbourne United are really professional. They're going to come out. They're going to do their thing. I'm curious to see if they try and push the tempo on the road as much as we saw in game 1. And I agree with you about Magnay. That was a bad situation. Usually when referees realize they may have gotten it wrong, they're a bit slower to call the technical. You know, they give the player a little bit of time. They don't blow that tech, but they went quick on that one. Boom, boom. I think the referees got to review how they handled that entire game as well. Shane, it's going to be a totally different tenor when they get down to Tasmania. You can forget about everything that happened in game one. Those fans are going to be rabid, and I'm picking Tasmania to win game two.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think they will bounce back. There's no doubt that Melbourne United are a better team. Now they've been able to get rid of the rust in the 3-game series against the Hawks as well. They're better. And we knew they were always going to continue to get better after a long period of time of not playing. I just want to go back to why I think it's important with McDonald. He's not going to score. He's just going to be workmanlike. He's not going to make mistakes. He's not going to try and do too much. He's going to play great defence. For Crawford, they have to find something because it's not just his 3 for 13. He's been bad for the last 6 weeks. He hasn't been able to buy anything. So maybe a change of mindset, coming off the bench, not having that responsibility to start, maybe that change gives him something else to hang his hat on, that maybe this is a new start for him. And then maybe they have to go to Doyle more. Maybe they have to go to McVeigh more. I thought Travis was exceptional defensively against Jack McVeigh. He gave him absolutely nothing, and he's probably the worst matchup for Jack McVeigh you could have in the entire NBL because he's got length and athleticism that matches and probably surpasses McVeigh. I thought Drimmick was really good being able to go at Chris Golding. Good strategy. He had a really good game, and he needs to continue to be aggressive and go at Golding early.
And Hammer, as well as defending the island, they better defend CG 43 because those 6 threes were sensational. That was an outstanding performance, but he got too many easy looks early. They allowed him to get his rhythm. CG can't have any clean looks. Everything must be tough for him.
Well, the draw for Paris, Hammer, is out.
Oh.
Safe to say that the Boomers have been drawn the group of death.
Wow. What a tough draw. So we've got Canada, who they are
stacked. They are absolutely stacked.
They are star-studded, and we saw them play really well, and they will be better than what they were at the World Cup. And then they play the qualifier between Greece, or it's in Greece. Greece and Slovenia are the 2 top teams.
Giannis and Luka, yeah.
Now, you're not going to Greece and qualifying over Greece. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
The atmosphere and the passion of the Greeks, I think, will get them over the line if Giannis is available. And then the last one, Spain will come through in Spain.
Yeah.
So Canada, Greece, and Spain. Very tough.
Ooh, okay. So
the top 2.
The top 2 go through, and then it's the 2 best third-place teams that go through to the quarterfinals.
So I'm confident we're going to go through.
Okay.
But it's tough.
Yeah, and then we do not know then how that next group is. The quarterfinals are drawn, whether it's put a hat or whether it's based on results.
Yes.
TBC.
Yeah, but confident. I hope Giannis doesn't go. Just quietly.
Giannis up against the Boomers, basically.
Yes.
And what about just for the Opals, Group A? So they've got the host France, they've got Canada and Nigeria, also a really tough group, I think.
France are good. They're really good. So that's going to be really tough.
Yeah.
Canada, you can't take them too lightly because they've got some good WNBA players as well.
Absolutely not. And then we've got some history with Nigeria.
Yeah, I mean, we'll smash Nigeria.
That is also really tough for the Opals, though. But solid squad.
Not as tough as the men.
Yeah.
The Opals will breeze through that.
They're
guaranteed.
Okay, good.
They're going to get through that.
Let's hope so. Let's hope both of them do. I want to ask about Josh Green. He's out with that ankle injury for multiple weeks, hopefully not too long. But I don't know if you saw it. I feel like multiple weeks ankle injury is great news because it was so innocuous. It looked like an Achilles to me. Derek, what did you see?
Yeah, and Hammer, this is a dangerous time for all of our Boomers. Obviously, we want them to do well and to continue to thrive in the NBA and go as deep as they can in the playoffs. But more importantly, Brian Goorjian is looking at all these things very closely because there would be nothing greater for him than to have everyone healthy and at his disposal for Paris, because there's a real possibility that they go back-to-back medals, Hammer. And Josh Green is going to play a significant role in that. He's a much better player than he was at the last Olympic Games, where he hardly featured. Physically, defensively, now with improved offensive productivity, he can play a much larger role out there on that floor.
Well, I think he can too. And, I think Exum's the other one that probably got underplayed at the World Cup, and he needs to play more minutes because I think he's continued to evolve after his stint in Europe as well, and now coming back to the NBA. So this is a handing of the guard, this handing over of the guard with Paddy and Joey now probably playing lesser roles than what they have over the last 15 years. And now with Giddy and those two being able to step up, Reith being able to get more experience, he's a better player as well. So this Boomers team is certainly going to look a lot different than what it has in the past. But let me tell you, a 4-week injury in the NBA is like a 10-day injury in the NBL. They are the most conservative league in the world, that when you come back, they're thinking bigger picture. They're not taking any risk. You are at 110%. You're coming back better than what you were when you stopped.
Hammer, let me ask you a question about the Boomers. With the improved play of Matthew Dellavedova, we all thought a year ago his international career is over. Do you think he's maybe lit a little bit of a fire and there's still a spark there for Gorgian to consider?
I think he'll be considered. There's no doubt about it. We know he's such a great culture guy. We know he's had a really good season. He's going to be fit and hungry to be able to try and help the Boomers get back. And the fact that they struggled so badly defensively at the World Cup, that was an area that the Boomers have always been strong. That totally changed. We were really good offensively but struggled at the defensive end. So he's going to be considered. It's just, who do you take him over? That's probably the biggest question, because there's some guys that are coming through that need this time on the bench and that are going to be great players for the Boomers in the future. Or is Gorge just thinking about what has to happen at this Olympic Games, because it is a tough draw that they're up against?
How do you respond to your own question, D?
Well, the way I've kind of stacked it up, Hammer, is I see if you take 6 guards, there's one spot by my calculations left for the 2 Melbourne United teammates, Golding or Dellavedova, to get that final spot. And it's tough. I don't think you could go wrong with either guy. But Gorge has already shown that he wasn't willing to play Golding when they needed shooting. And with Delly's improved play and his body, Shane, you know, seeing him in person, what he's done to transform his body is admirable. So, you know, like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with either guy, but it's probably ironic that if they go with a 6th guard, it's probably going to be United versus United for the final position.
We'll see what happens. Brian Gorgian has a couple of big decisions to make over the next few months. D, love your work as always. Thanks so much.
And Joe, I will see you Friday.
Let's go. Game 2, baby.
On the island.
Have a good
On the island.
Have a good call, guys. Don't get caught up in that
All
pub
right.
scene.
5. Virgil. Jazz get the turnover off good defense. Sexton loves it. And Collins with the finish.
John Collins gets up and throws it down to tip off our Boost Mobile Hoops highlights. So graceful.
4. 7 seconds left. Tie game at 101. 4 seconds. 3. Get it off. Bam for 3. Yes! Bam wins the game with a 3. 3.
Jalen Johnson, he goes right up and over Austin Reeves.
Oh my goodness. I mean, he just takes off and goes up over him and one. And he looks at him like, are you crazy? You won't get in front of this?
2.
Looking in for Irving. Irving for the win. Oh my! A southpaw finish from Kyrie Irving.
That is one of the nastiest games I have seen in a while, and to have that type of finish from Kyrie Irving.
1.
Another turnover for Utah. Edwards gets it back and threw it down. And 1 from the rafters.
Did we do Kyrie a dirty there by not having him number 1? Can't deny Anthony Edwards though, that was huge. And there's Collins again, only he was on the wrong end of that one. Those are your Hoops highlights, thanks to Boost Mobile.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.